Crimean War, being the first major world power conflict in 40 years, acted as the birth of modern warfare. It was fought between Britain, France, Turkey and Austria against Russia from 1854 to 1856, during which many of the dominant weapons of the period arose. The Allied forces had a far superior industrial base from which to supply their army, as opposed to the Russians, who were very backward thinking in their approach. Their army consisted mainly of cavalry and infantry with smooth-bore muskets and basic artillery, whereas the Allies had percussion rifles and powerful artillery easily capable of outranging the Russians. The French Navy, using their new metal warships compared to the Russian wooden vessels, meant a rapid and complete takeover of the Black Sea. These technological advantages led to the successful takeover of Balaclava harbour and the fortress of Sebastopol during the siege lasting from September 1854 to September 1855. Also vital to the siege victory was the Allied force being able to keep their army supplied at a higher rate than the Russians, using steamships carrying supplies from their homes thousands of miles away. The Russian forces still had to rely on supply trains and marching due to their poor railway network and lack of technological advancement. Despite the superior technologies involved in the war, tactics were still rooted in Napoleonic tradition. This was most evident in the tragic Charge of the Light Brigade during the Battle of Balaclava on the 25th of October 1854. This was a cavalry charge by the Allies in an attempt to prevent the Russians from capturing Allied guns. The order should have been to attack a different location. However, miscommunication between Captain Lewis Nolan and Lord Lucan led to the fatal charge on a fortified Russian valley. Furthermore, there was also a little-known Charge of the Heavy Brigade, which was a successful battle against the Russian front. What should have happened is the Light Brigade charging in after and finishing off the retreating Russians. However, another miscommunication in orders led to the brigade just standing and watching, having apparently been ordered to just defend their location. It was not only the Allied forces that made grievous errors in combat. At the Battle of Inkerman on the 5th of November 1854, Russian forces used the Napoleonic tactic of columns in an attempt to break the Allied line. However, the Allied forces had superior weapons and could easily defend their location in face of this attack, resulting in the Russian army suffering 4 times the number of casualties. During the course of the war, the Allies rifled their artillery, as at the time it would have been too expensive to incorporate the already made breech-loading rifled cannons, resulting in far superior range than the Russians, and was one of the most copied weapons of the period after the war. Also, the Crimean War was photographed. These snaps were then sent back to Britain and plastered all over the newspapers, showing how terrible the living conditions of the soldiers were. This added to the pressure of public opinion to the commanders' tactics, as they would not want to be thought badly of if the army sustained high casualties for unworthy gains. However, the famous nurse Florence Nightingale saw these photos and was appalled. This led to the improvement and more hygienic cleaning of field hospitals. Despite this, 60% of all casualties in the Crimean War were those dying of exposure or illness. The silver lining is that this war also saw the establishment of the Victoria Cross, awarded for bravery.